the SpoolTenna. Is this a gimmick or a great antenna? Let's find out on AA3K on the go. My good friend Dave, K3FT, and I attended the 2025 Dayton Hamvention. And as we were traveling out there, he was saying he wants to get back into Parks on the Air activations. And he's only done one or two activations as well as a dual activation with me. And he's limited in how much he can do ham radio wise as he lives in a HOA community. So he started thinking, he already has a very good radio and battery and such, but he started thinking more in terms of getting a better antenna. So as we were looking around, we came across the SpoolTenna booth. And after examining it and determining it is an end-fed half wave and how much success I have had using end-fed half waves, he decided to purchase it. And he was very kind, and he let me borrow the antenna to do this review. So I've taken a look at it, and I'm very impressed with the results. It's pretty easy to set up, maybe a little bit more complicated to wind up at the end, but let's take a look at this antenna's performance and cover some of my pros and cons as to this particular antenna. Looking at the SpoolTenna, it's very well made, no sharp edges on these discs. Maybe if anything, my only complaint about it is that it uses a BNC connector for the antennas. All of my other antennas, except for the QRP one here with the True SDX, are SO239 connectors on them, as all my coaxes are PL259s at the end. However, fortunately I have more than enough BNC to SO239 adapters, so when I ran my test today, I just threw this on and clipped it up. Now, SpoolTenna is really good, and they give you a quick start guide to setting up the antenna. They give you a more detailed set of information about the antenna, including theory of operation, schematic, and such. And they actually show the two common ways of setting up the antenna. Configuration A is where you put the transformer end, which is built into the spool here, up at your hanging height, either on a mast or from a tree limb and such. And then you put the free end of the antenna down low, or flip it around, which is the usual way that I install end-fed half waves, and put the transformer, close to the ground level in your operating position, and then the wire going up into a tree or a mast. And finally, every single one of their antennas, besides having a serial number on it, comes with a SWR chart where they measure it with what they call the A configuration, with the transformer hanging up high. Now, if you look at my videos, metal mast and end-fed half waves, I did run a quick test both ways with the transformer near ground level and the transformer up my tower to see the operation and how it affected the SWR of the antenna, and there was really no significant change between the two. And I have little doubt that the antenna would have performed excellently had I really spent any time operating with it. As for deploying the antenna, I just stuck a screwdriver through the center hole and just rolled out the wire from where I had the rope already dangling from my usual tree branch that I use when I'm testing end-fed half waves here at the AA3K antenna range, and brought it back to the post I had already set up in the ground. There's a pigtail that comes off the end of the wire. You strain relief it off to the BNC connector here. There's a little piece of paracord, and then you plug the banana plug into this jack over here to connect the antenna. And when you're ready to put the antenna away, you disconnect from the BNC, kind of get a wrap or two. I've got to practice a little bit more wrapping this antenna up. I did have a little bit of difficulty, but again, first time I've ever used this antenna. And then you just stick the screwdriver through the hole in the middle, or maybe a thin tent peg or something like that. And there's a little knob here, and you just wind the antenna up. And pulling it across the grass seems to help, puts a little bit of tension on the wire as it's wrapping up on the wheel. And SpoolTenna gives you this BOGO bungee. It's basically a rubber band with a nice, good, grippy plug on the end of it that you can then wrap around everything to keep it from flying off the spool here. Let's now take a look at the SWR curves for all of the bands that this antenna is resonant on, plus a couple of that are not, and we'll see if this end-fed half wave is as good as every other one that I have used. Okay, let's take a look at the SWR curve of the SpoolTenna across all of the bands, and you can see for 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters, its performance is actually getting better as you go up to 10 meters. But it's no worse than 1.3, 1.35 to 1 on 40 meters. Getting all the way up to 6 meters, though, the antenna is about 4 to 1 SWR, and not all antenna matching units built into radios are capable of tuning that. Most of them are limited to about a 3 to 1 range. If we take specific looks at 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters, we see excellent curves across each of the resonant bands. Just over 1.5 to 1 at the top end of 40 meters. You could shorten the length of the antenna a little bit using the adjustable clamp at the end of the antenna wire if you want to try to tune that up and have it a little bit favor more towards the voice end of the band. But for 20, 15, and 10 meters, except again for the very top end of 10 meters, around 29 megahertz, you still have excellent performance on all of those bands. And all of these were measured with my Rig Expert AA55 zoom and 50 feet of RG8X coax. And I did take a quick look at 30 and 17 meters. I meant to get 12 meters, but I goofed up the measurement there. But as the antenna is not designed to be resonant at those bands, you're seeing over 5 to 1 SWR in 30 meters and just under 5 to 1 SWR in 17 meters. You could adjust the length of the antenna and maybe put some sort of marker where you can say where to adjust it for the walk bands and then bring it back for 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters. But that's probably not worth the effort. It's probably better to have a separate antenna that can handle the walk bands. The antenna is designed to handle 100 watts on sideband and 50 watts on CW and digital modes, so it will cover your standard activations with, say, a ICOM 7300 or an 891 from Yaesu, or any of the QRP rigs, and at about just over 12 ounces for carry weight. The antenna is not that bad to use when you're backpacking in, say, with your QRP gear. So is the SpoolTenna a winner? Yes, it is in my book. The only real downside I'm seeing to this antenna is I have to return it to my friend Dave. And I'm looking forward over the next month or so of getting out with him a couple of times and getting him comfortable with doing parks on the air or just operating in his backyard with this antenna. He's got a very good HF rig he can take portable. He has taken a lot of time in the past couple of years to learn CW and has become quite good at it. So QRP and CW definitely gets out. Though voice and QRP is a little bit more challenging, it's possible too, and he can definitely get out. And like me, he lives near Tyler State Park here in Pennsylvania, so he can easily get out for parks on the air. And like I said, he can just do it in his backyard in his community. Hey, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing if you found this information helpful. And remember, I'm trying to help you make the outdoors your ham shack. This is Mark, AA3K73, and I'll catch you the next time.